Hi Singapore, this is ASHIMA CHIBBER. Please watch Mr. Chatterjee Vs Norway in a theatre close to you. You're listening to me with RJ Himani on Let's Think Aloud.
Let's Think Aloud and Radio Chutney. You're tuned in with me, RJ. I have the director of the much-awaited film by Z Studios this year, Mrs. Chatterjee vs. Norway. Firstly, congratulations, Ashima, the director of the film, on directing this sensational film.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. And the first time all of us saw the trailer, the trailer released and we were like, okay, let's open it. And I have to, and I'm not exaggerating because I'm talking to you, we had goosebumps. It was so gripping, intense, surreal, the trailer. So I think, the trailer has, after seeing the trailer, we almost messaged everybody, this is a winner at hand that we have.
Lovely, thank you. Yes, it is a mother's story after all, and we're all we come into the world as daughters and sons. So it is a very basic of all human emotions, mother and a child.
Right. This is a true story. It has Rani Mukherjee in the lead. She's looking fantastic. She's acting as usual. I mean, it's expected when you have Rani in a frame. The frame is so capture-worthy and look-worthy and everything. But I want to tell you, it's a nerve-wracking, intense subject that you have chosen, Ashima. How was the process from research to the final filming for you?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I knew about the case when it first came out about 10 years ago on news. I remember watching it and it having an impact on me. And I thought, what is going on here? Taking the child away from a mother it just doesn't add up in my head. Like, I can understand counseling of a mother because after delivery we have postpartum and we have all of those and people are aware. And then when I got a call from the people who brought me the story, Sameer and Rahul, so he called me and he said, we have an interesting story here, and do you remember this case in Norway? And just it came flooding back because I was also just a new mother. My child was about a year old, and I had just had all the run of being a new mother. So it just shook me up, and I said, listen, say no more. Let's talk tomorrow. Let me process this film, the story in my head, and then we will talk, because it's not something that I can, it's not something I can say right away. So then we met the next day. So the entire night I was awake. I could not sleep, thinking of the story and thinking of how a story like this can be brought to screen, because it has to be, because the story from start to finish is so intense for a mother, any mother, and it is an international story because it's set abroad. And when Indians travel abroad, they're looking for the promised land, they're looking for the gold. So it was like a mixie, in my head, and I thought, okay, we have to come up with something that is that I can pitch to the writers and see whether our treatment and the writing match. And then I got into it with my sleeves up, and I said, okay, we're making this film, and it has to have the widest reach, because it is an internationally set story. So research was very important. Firstly, researching the mother on whom the story was based, and finding out her entire story. And I realized how slowly things were unraveling as I was talking to her. There were layers and layers of things, and so what meets the eye usually is not the most interesting story. The most interesting story is what doesn't meet the eye. So yeah, I've been soaked in it for the last 2 years, and I have done the research, and I have also lived abroad, so I already knew the challenges of settling in a new country, or living in a new country, studying in a new country.
It just, while listening to you, I was actually kind of imagining that how fruitful this whole 2 years of this journey must be, that you can finally see the film to completion. And of course, it has Rani Mukherjee. We have to talk about her. Was she always on your mind when you wanted to cast? Was she already cast? And what was the experience of directing her after all this time that we're going to see her in a film such as this?
See, the story, while of course it was conceived with her in mind, because it's a Bengali mother, and Bengali mothers, even in India, when you give birth, it's always the Bengali midwives who come to the house to take care of the baby for 40 days, 50 days. So they are very famous for their child handling, as is known in India as jhapas, and just generally the way the Bengalis have known to rear their babies is
Lionesses.
Yes, there are lionesses. So Rani was always in my mind, she is to me the quintessential Bengali mother, and we knew each other. I've seen her around in office, and we've always spoken to each other. So she was in my present foreground memory, and I just thought, I don't know, if not her, who else? So it's a cosmic intervention, when these things happen.
Absolutely. And I believe a part of the film was also shot during COVID in Estonia. How was that? Because the film, dragged along for that long.
Yes, it was very tricky for us because we had only a certain stipulated number of visas, like say for example 45 to 50, then we travel with a big unit, and they have to open the gates on the other side to allow us, and the second wave was on in India, and everybody was nervous that naturally so that nobody was traveling across continents, and so we made a plea to the Estonian government to allow us at least 50 people to go, and the rest of all the crew would hire local people, and we would do the film. And I think the story is so compelling, and the passion that the script carries, of course, I think that sort of opened the gates for that country to us, and they were just absolutely welcoming. Brilliant. The locations are great. It's a wonderful country with great and very professional people and such good technical crew that you can pick up from there. It was a blessing in disguise.
Fantastic. Yeah, lovely to hear that. Finally, Ashima, I want to ask you, true story versus fiction, we always get a little more intrigued and interested whenever it says based on a true story. Now, is that a challenge as a director or a filmmaker, or you think it's easy when you have a true story because all you have to do is stick to the narrative, use a little bit of creative liberty and make the film? I've always had this question in mind whenever it's a true story.
See, true story is more fascinating for me, but because the emotions are real. You're talking about real people, and you're talking about real children here, considering this story, and they will grow up, and now they have grown up, they will watch this film, and so much of their life is going to be about this, and it will be their memory of what happened in Norway and now vis-a-vis the film. So the responsibility is greater, and also I think the making of the film is more challenging, because to get the emotion right, it has to be right. There are no two ways, because we are talking about people living. If you're talking about a book being made into a film, or you can take that creative liberty and add a scene here or there, or do montages with slow motion running, and you can ease the pace, you can do a lot of things, you can do these big drone shots, you can do stuff. But when you're talking about a real story and people who are living and whose life is involved, and future children, you have to be extremely careful. Therefore, it makes it a very interesting endeavor, but it definitely is one has to think 3 times before picking up a project like this. It's a big responsibility.
Finally, Ashima, you said you've met the mother. Have you also met the kids?
Yes, I have, online, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I've met the kids. They're lovely. They're growing up well. They're with their mother. It's wonderful, and she's a fabulous mother. The way she looks after them, and yes, I have a special connect with these children. They are, as you can see behind you in the poster, they were so young when they were taken away. So it's I feel for them. I feel like they're my own children.
All the best. We're looking forward to watching the film, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much.